Flight boss, bitch. You know, for sure. You're not listening to the Mind of an Antares Moon. Flight boss, the Archangel Uriel. And I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And right now, I just want to do an introduction so I don't have to keep repeating myself with these videos, Aries through Pisces, when I'm talking about Saturn and Capricorn now. Now, when I talk about the houses, this is going to affect your life situations. Not just your actions and what you're consciously aware of, aka your sun. Not just your emotional feelings and your vibrations, aka how you and who you are, aka the moon. Not just the way you think, communicate, and analyze, aka Mercury. Not just the way you love, appreciate, value, and how you relate to others and what you're willing to compromise with, aka Venus. Not just your intent, willpower, passions, motivations, and desires, aka Mars. Not just your wisdom and knowledge, your meanings and reasonings and the experiences that you go through in order to expand your mind, aka Jupiter. Not just that. You see what I'm saying? Not just your, how you see, well actually this is how you're going to see reality, but just not your specific way of how you may see reality or gain structure in, hey! Or not how you should gain structure in your life. You know what I'm saying? Because this don't because your Saturn may not be in Capricorn, but if your Saturn is in Capricorn, then this is going to represent you in so many ways, shapes, and forms, and how you see reality. The way you see reality and gain structure in your life may be the way how everybody should be seeing it, because that's the way the reality is going to be taking shape and form in a Capricornius type of way. Capricornius. Now, also, yeah, and this is not just about your dreams, illusions, creativity, and imagination as far as your Neptune. This is not just about your transformations and your power and control issues, aka Pluto. And this is just not about your motherfucking changes, rebellion, and opposition natures, but your uniqueness and originality, aka Uranus. You know, once I do one planet, I feel like I have to break them all down. But yeah, this is not going to be specifically about those, even though these are important. These build your character. But right now we're getting we're getting to the important things when we talk about your life situations, and this correlates with your houses. So as I run through Aries through Pisces ascendants, Saturn going in Capricorn, you're going to understand how this gets expressed through your life and what kind of life situation is going to be brought upon you. Now, what Saturn itself represents reality, how one gains structure in one life, and also where one places, but also receives boundaries, restrictions, and limits. So within that placing and receiving, you get to learn how to play jump rope, learn how to balance, learn how to manage money, learn how to gain stability in your life. And gain a structure in your life could be through a person, place, or thing, or job, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So Saturn could be manipulative and could be used and use others as crutches a lot of times. Or Saturn could help a person develop stability in their life and foundation in their life, and be able to have firmness and create a firmament in their life better than someone else, and they'll be able to separate their waters from other people outside waters, aka people who are too emotionally in chaos and don't know how to construct themselves, people who are too passionately involved in things, aka fire, and don't know how to construct themselves. The first one was water. Then air, someone who got too many ideals but don't know how to put it into action. Boom. Saturn and earth signs help these forms take shape and form, and we're in a reality, in a realm of reality right now that carries the earth-like energy. So it's important, if you're going to be in this realm, all humans is in this realm, all species, all stars in this realm is here to learn forms of stability, forms of grounding, forms of stableness, forms of stagnation. For people who got frequency vibrations and their spirits came here and they just end up being a rock or something like that, like grounded, you're here to learn how to move. You're here to learn that even being stagnated, even on a foundation that has a shape and form, has to move. Earth even teach you that physical forms transform and dissipate, get old and perish and things of that nature. It takes reshapes. One shape don't stay the same. After a while it deteriorate, and you know, all physical things deteriorate. So this is the earth realm. See, and when you get people lost in the physical, you got people who will make up things that's not physical because they don't see anything else, right? So they're lost in the physical. And you got a lot of conscious women and brothers out here who who are lost in the physical, but they claim they're conscious. They claim they're spiritually inclined, but they want to tie the spirit to everything physical. So they contradict themselves. They'll be sitting here talking about the spirit could do this, that, and the third, but when you ask them what the spirit is, they tie it to something physical. These people are lost in the physical. Any type of thing, form of whatever. I heard one girl say the fucking spirit and conscious was the woman's eggshell. I heard one person say it was the blood. I heard one person said it was the air. One person saying it's the fucking sperm. It's the sperm cell because of the nucleus and this, that, and the third. Remind you, sperm cells die. Listen, I'm Archangel Uriel. Right? I'm Archangel Uriel. I rule over to Taurus, right? When fallen spirits, aka fallen stars, right? They want to take bodies to experience, right? So when spirits get lost like ghosts and they can't find a body, they're lost, they're into Taurus. And you know what I do as Archangel Uriel? I put them in a cell. I put the spirit in a cell. The cell won't work or move without the spirit in it. What's a motherfucking cell? A blood cell, a sperm cell, a battery cell, whatever it is. I was putting motherfuckers in them. You see what I'm saying? But you have to learn how to separate. What I was putting in these cells was shapeless, formless, odorless, non-flammable gas. That don't die. Remind you, sperm cells die. You see what I'm saying? Remind you, sperm cells die. They can't survive for after a certain amount of days or whatever like that, but depending on how strong they are. So that lets you know, strong, muscle, tissue, fluid, body. That's a body. Sperm, cell, anything with cell in it is nothing but a form of a body. It has nothing to do with the spirit, and we know what the spirit conscious is. We can separate it every day based upon you going in your shapeless, formless, odorless, non-flammable gas, you experiencing things, and the space is the rainbow waters. I call it the rainbow waters, right? Because emotions and feelings, they correlate to colors. This is why we ain't gotta call them planets and shit though, but this is the way how men, women can correlate things. So you see what I'm saying? When you feel anger and shit like that, you may feel red. When you feel happiness and optimism, you may feel orange. When you feel love and appreciation, you may feel purple. When you feel like you want to gain and growth and things of that nature, you may feel green or brown. But check this out. When you put a person who's like trying to rise their kundalini or get fluids going on in all their bodies, or a person who's trying to rise their spirit, guess what? This is a person who mixing the right and left brain. And guess what? This is a person who blending all their emotions and feelings again. And if emotions and feelings correlate with colors, then goddamn, all the colors mixed in together create black. But if you was outside of this pool, motherfucker, it look like a fucking rainbow ocean. So when you looking up in space, that's a motherfucking rainbow ocean. You know what I'm saying? You motherfuckers gotta understand the real spirit. Stop fucking with the spirit. But you know what I'm saying? We're going to talk about Saturn, because Saturn is one of the fallen spirits that draw other spirits down here. Saturn had jumped so far down here, it got so fucking heavy, it had lost itself to the point that it don't even reflect light. Frequency and vibration bounce off light. That's what creates the energy of light. When you have an idea, thought, and you add some fluid to it, emotions and feelings, boom, that's a light. Something can become physical, right? So that's how you can separate the spirit. The spirit is separate from shit. The spirit jumps into the rainbow waters. You know what I'm saying? And anything in the rainbow waters has the imagination that could become physical, but is really truly not physical. You know what I'm saying? That's the third portion, the energy of it. That you have to go past. But see, Saturn understands this. This is why Saturn has boundaries and limits. It's the ring. You see what I'm saying? So wherever Saturn at, it's gonna make you take shape and form of that house. Is going to make you take shape and form of that house, because we're in reality right now. You can knock on yourself. You got kneecaps, right? So you could bend, but you have limits to how far you could bend your knees. You see what I'm saying? When you get on the ground and you sit in a position like you want to meditate or something like that, when you put your legs create a ring. Your kneecaps do the bending though, for it to be the ring. What rule the kneecaps? Capricorn, Saturn. Come on, people, wake up, wake up. Now, you know what I'm saying? The house that is in, that's the house is going to gain structure of. Want you to take shape and form. So when you're too chaotic, that's too much air, water, or fire, is not going to be, that house is not going to take shape and form in the way it's supposed to. It's going to be sloppy. And anything that appears to be ugly or sloppy or formless or shapeless or retarded looking is not received well in this reality, because Saturn rules this form of reality, because it's the kind of planet that's close but far, and it's calculating our time schedule connected to the moon and shit. But that's another video. So whatever house Saturn is in, this is an introduction. It's going to gain structure to that house. Now, you just learned, or you still in the process of learning and gaining structure of the house it's currently in. Because, for an example, Saturn is still early in Capricorn. So the degrees of the house that you may have Capricorn in may still place your Saturn in the house before it. Because Saturn didn't reach the degree of your Capricorn house yet. So you may be still in the process of learning, or you may have learned and your house may be in the Capricorn house. But regardless of the situation, it's getting you prepared, because in some way, shape, or form, you're getting ready to go into that. You can't run away from time unless you die, and you still ain't running away from time. You just gonna have another zodiac chart somewhere else, depending on how high or low you go. That's going to be how more planets or how many less planets you have in that realm of reality. But for the most part, you know what I'm saying, Saturn is going to bring what it just learned. Now, you have to be consciously aware of this, because people who don't know their natal chart are not consciously aware. They just let Saturn flow just like they other planetary transits. And what they do is, when a planet learned the house it was in, and then it goes and transit the next house, people have a bunch of stumble and falls into their life again, because they're still used to going to what make them comfortable. And what make them comfortable is applying what they just learned. And if what they just learned was shit from the previous house applying to that planet, then utilizing it for the next house may not necessarily always work. So when things happen in your life, like, man, why the fuck that just happened? When I did this last month or last year, depending on what planet and what it's correlating to, that made you feel like you was doing the right thing. Damn, when I did it this time and I learned that stuff before, it worked. How come when I do this now it don't work? It's probably that whatever planet that was is probably in another house, and it need to learn something else, aka Saturn right now. So Saturn is getting prepared. So yeah, you can use the qualities of the house that it was in, or the house that you're still processing, but to get prepared to go to Capricorn house. But at the same time, you have to know, don't use too much of those qualities, because too much of those qualities is not going to be received well in that house. Now also, so what's happening here is Saturn going to force you to gain structure. So depending on how good of a placements that you got correlated to Saturn with your other placements, that's going to be how good you be able to do it, or how hard it's going to be for you. But for the most part, it's still going to be a process for everybody. Now, with Saturn being in that house and coming into your life into a shape or form, or a person, place, or thing, or a location to force you to gain structure in that house, here's what's going to happen. Now you're going to be like, okay, Flight Boss, how I'm going to do that then? Do I just have to experience? Here's how you do that. The angels, the stars, the signs always give you what you need. So here's what it give you. The signs, the actual angles of the signs. So your oppositions and your squares. Remember when I said the oppositions and the squares when it comes to the houses is the more positive attributes, and the sextiles and the trines is more of the negative when it plays out in the houses, because the sextiles and the trines could play out as procrastination, because it's stuff that you already have ability to. You see what I'm saying? Like, for an example, the sextiles to your first house, that's the 11th house and the 3rd house. You naturally have that ability. Your personality, personal issues, and affairs naturally going to experience opportunities to be received in your surroundings and what you're familiar with, aka your 3rd house, and then how you conduct yourself in the public arena, and handle the unknown and unfamiliar, aka the 11th house. So your personality always going to witness opportunities for that. So you may procrastinate, or it's up to your will, but these things is your natural things, so you can make them negative in your life. You see what I'm saying? And then sextiles when it comes to the houses. I mean trines. Just look at it. Your trines to your first house. That's the 5th and the 9th. You see what I'm saying? Your personality naturally has the gift of expressing themselves and being entertaining, or the things you're into, or your creative mechanism, or the things you're entertained by, aka your 5th house. So you naturally going to be able to express your personality as a gift. Trines represent gifts. Sextiles represent opportunities. The 1st house with the 9th house. you naturally got the gift of using your wisdom, your knowledge, and your experiences in life, and utilizing your personality within these things and things of that nature. And what you have learned, you get to add these to your personality. That's a gift. So you could procrastinate. You could use it as a bad gift, a good. You see what I'm saying? So 6,000 trines is only good when it's the planetary alignments and the squares and oppositions work out negative. But in the houses, the squares and oppositions work out positive, and the 6,000 trines work out negative. Because when you living through life, the whole purpose is to learn, to experience, to expand your shapeless, formless, odorless, non-flammable gas, your spirit, your conscious, right? And if the houses represents your learning aspects, if the houses represents your life situations, then that's what you should be learning. So the 6,000 squares plays out the most positive. So how you can kind of get a hold of yourself when Saturn start tearing down things in that house and want you to rebuild that house, right, to gain form and structure of that house. How you're going to do that is applying your opposite house and your square houses to the house that Saturn is in. So for an example, if you got Saturn in the 6th house, then you need to apply the 2nd house, which would be the opposite house, and you need to apply the 9th and the 12th house, which is the square houses. You see what I'm saying? And then that's going to help you structure the houses in. For an example, Saturn being in the Saturn being in the 6th house, you need to gain structure. It's gonna break down and make you rebuild and gain structure over your work or whatever you're working on, your health, your routine, your scheduling. So you the things you do on a day-to-day basis, on a day-to-day your tasks, things you're willing to criticize, and things you're willing to look at the details about. The details of. So Saturn is going to bring in something's going to happen that you might have to get a new job, or your schedule may be different, your day-to-day task is different, you got to move, everything is like switching up is different, you got to look at the details, you got to criticize a lot more, you got to work a little bit harder, or you got to find something that you're working on. Now this is going to break down that house and build it back up. So you're going to witness a lot of stumbles and falls in that house and being unsure a lot of times. Now to avoid a lot of the mishaps, right, you need to take your opposition. So look at the opposite to the and pardon me, I didn't mean to say the 2nd house. That's actually a square, but the 12th house. The 12th house is the opposite to the 6th house. The 2nd and the 9th is the squares. So sorry about that. But for the most part, you need to take from the squares and the opposite. So let's start with the 2nd house. The square represents learning process. Opposite represents something you need to relate to and create a give and receive other than a tug of war match, because it's always going to start off as a tug of war match, aka friction. So if you're Saturn in the 6th house, to help this house, to help build it, now learn from the 2nd house. Learn from what you value and what you're relating to, and learn how to value and to relate, and learn how to have something to offer to the world. So the 2nd house represents what you value, a person, place, or thing, and what you have to offer to the world, whether that's internally or externally. Learn from these things, because they're going to help you apply things in your 6th house. Your other square, the 9th house, that's higher education, higher learning, higher wisdom, your experiences, your meanings of reasonings, your higher wisdom and knowledges that you taught of things, your broad philosophical points of views of looking at the world, spirituality, and God. So all your experiences and things that you got educated on and learn, you need to learn how to apply that to the 6th house, and vice versa. Take the 6th house and learn how to gain more information about what you're working on, your work or your health, or things that you need to criticize and look at the details. Then the opposite house is the 12th house, dreams, illusions, creativity, and imagination, and the fantasy and spiritual realm. That's the collective conscious. You need to learn how to start adding your imagination, your dreams. Slow down on the illusion, but sometimes you need the illusion to add more imagination, and learn how to apply these things to your and make it more relatable other than a tug of war match. Don't get into the illusion, because look, in society you got your dreams, which your dreams is imagination. Now it could go in two ways in society. Your dreams and imagination negatively could be looked at as an illusion, but your dreams and imagination positively could be looked at as creativity. So you need to balance that out first and apply that to your 6th house, and that'll make it a give and receive match. On a creative side, it'll be a give and receive match. On an illusion side, it'll be a tug of war match. So this is the introduction to Saturn, and now we're going to break down each ascendant. Flight boss, bitch, goddamn air, hee hee.